Hey guys, I noticed that there weren't any videos about the Whitney Wolverine on YouTube yet, so I thought I'd do a video review on the gun just to get something out there about him. I'll do a shooting video in a few weeks, so watch for that, but in the meantime, I hope this will be useful for people who are interested in these guns. They're pretty cool, and it does seem like there's some interest in them online, so I just hope people will watch this and learn something from it and enjoy it. Anyway, the gun I'm talking about is the Whitney Wolverine. It was designed in 1955 by Robert Hilberg, and the whole sort of point of the design of the gun is for it to be futuristic and modern. The actual slogan they were using at the time is "as modern as tomorrow," and that's really one of the first things that most people notice. And it's sort of one of the selling points of the gun is its futuristic, swoopy lines. It's very graceful looking, and it looks like something out of the future, or at least what someone in the 1950s might have imagined to be the future. And a lot of people online seem to say that it resembles Buck Rogers' ray gun or Flash Gordon's gun or something like that. And I'm a little young. I wasn't really in that demographic where I grew up with those guys, but I know what they're talking about. And to me, it sort of evokes sort of a maybe Rocketeer, 1930s Art Deco sort of futuristic look too. And it's just a pretty cool looking gun. That's really one of the key selling features of it. And this one in particular is in the nickel finish. It's an original Whitney Wolverine with the nickel finish. Most people are familiar probably with the black finish. That's sort of the standard finish on these. They did come in this shiny nickel. There was also one where it was all nickel, but the top part was a shiny nickel and the bottom was a matte finish. There were a few that were hand polished. The gun's made of aluminum, so you can polish it and make it pretty shiny too. There were a few like that, but out of roughly 13,000 Wolverines produced, I've heard conflicting reports that say either 500 or 900 were made with this nickel finish on it, so they're pretty rare. The nickel finish ones are pretty collectible at this point, so when I saw this one for sale, I pretty much had to buy it up right away. It came with a box, and I'll show you the box here. It's not the original box, but it came with it nonetheless, and they're kind of expensive to supply afterwards, so it came with that, and I got a manual with it to reprint, but the gun is the real cool part, so I'll just talk about that a little bit more. Anyway, like I said, the black ones are pretty standard. I actually had a black one for a while. I bought it with the intention of sending it off to get nickeled because I really like this look. I think the nickel look just really suits the gun well. That with the swooping lines, especially this part here, it just really goes with that whole sort of Art Deco feel that it gives me, and the white grips especially. It's just a really sweet looking gun, especially in the nickel finish. If you watch for these on Gunbroker, there is a guy named L82, and he hand polishes them himself. And he does put them up for sale every once in a while, but just beware that those aren't the nickel ones. Those are hand polished aluminum ones, so they look pretty much the same, but they aren't. I don't think they're as highly collectible as this nickel finish like this one is. But this is also a cool thing kind of about the look of it. The trigger it's a little bit off colored. It's like a yellow. It's almost like a straw color. I think that goes really well with it too. You have the silver, white, and sort of a straw light yellow. It's really neat looking. So I'll talk about the size of the gun next. As usual, I have this 1970s original Beretta 92, sort of the most common semi-auto I own that people might be able to use as a reference gun. So you can sort of see the size of it there. The gun is not small, the Whitney Wolverine, and I was a little surprised when I first got it, the black one that I had actually, but it was a little bigger than I thought it would be. But it's surprisingly light because it's made of the frame is made of aluminum. It only weighs 23 ounces. I measured it myself, and because of that, everyone that's picked it up, so you can see the size. Because of that, everyone that's picked up the Wolverine, they've all commented on how surprised they are at how light it is, and it's really a pretty light gun. The aluminum frame is the main reason with that. So, moving on to sort of the grips and the ergonomics and everything. That's another one of those things that just sort of hits you right away. Is the grip is really swooped back, sort of really raked back, and it's a really good grip angle. Colonel Rex Applegate, if you've heard of him, he was sort of a famous shooter back in the day. He said that this is one of the most pointable and shootable guns that he's ever held, and I can see why. It's just the angle of the grip and the way it feels in your hand. It's a little narrow there, but it just really fits into your hand nicely. It points superbly. It's a really good shooter, and I can see why it would appeal to him in that way. A few other features, like I said, it's a hammer-fired gun, so you have the hammer here. And this is actually, they use it as a selling point because back in the 50s, none of the 22 target pistols had an exposed hammer, so this is considered a safety feature because you can tell whether it's cocked or not. But going on with the safety thing, you have the hammer, so you can see if it's cocked or not. There's a manual safety here, which can only be engaged if the hammer is cocked, and it disconnects the trigger completely, and it won't fire or anything. And then there's another safety. There's a mag disconnect safety. So I'll pull the mag out. It's a little sticky sometimes. There we go. So yeah, the magazine's out, and with the mag out, it's the same deal. Trigger's disconnected, and gun won't fire. So there are a few safety features with this gun. Another one, I'll put the mag back in. Another one that they like to talk about in the manual is the slip. They call it a slip hammer, slip safety. And what it pretty much is that the hammer has sort of a half cock mode. You can pull it back here, and it's not resting on the firing pin that way. And it's just a safety precaution, so you can carry it with around in the chamber, and I guess not have the risk of it getting knocked into the firing pin, I think is the point of it. And then if you pull the trigger, it just falls a little bit. Pretty short. So it won't go off. So I can't tell if this is in focus or not. But so yeah, those are some of the features. I'll let you see the sight picture there. You can see the sight's the rear sight's kind of unusual. It's just sort of a piece of metal bent over. And then get a look at the way it looks from back here. I'll pull the hammer down since that's how it'll look if you're actually shooting it. But sight picture's pretty good. If I can get it in there for you. But yeah, sight picture's pretty good, so that comes together well. I'll get the magazine out again, talk a little bit about that. It's a little sticky, like I said, so I kind of have to work with it sometimes. The magazine's pretty interesting too. Most 22 target pistols, they have a sort of a little button knob thing there to help you load it. With this one, I should have gotten out a 22 cartridge, but what you're supposed to do is put a spent 22 casing in this little hole here and use that as your button, as your assist sort of thing. So that's kind of a unique design. The Whitney company was pretty proud of their magazine, and they kept labeling it as like the most reliable 22 magazine or the most reliable 22 pistol design and all this stuff. It is pretty well built. It's really solid and thick, and some people say the gun's pretty finicky with different types of ammo, but mine's been pretty reliable with the two different types that I've tried through it. But yeah, they're really proud of this mag design. Just the construction of it, the design of it, and everything about it is supposed to be really reliable. So in my experience so far with this one and my other one have been pretty positive, so I can understand that and believe that. I'll show you these round things here with the grip serrations. That's actually what you grab to cock the slide or to drag the slide back, and I'll just pull that back. See, it's sort of a bolt-like assembly. There is no last round hold open. So when it's empty, you click the trigger again. But when you disassemble it for a field strip, it's kind of complicated, and I'll do another video showing just that procedure. You have to unscrew this. This up here is like a barrel lug. You push this button in, and you twist this off, and it's like a nut. You pull it out, and then you're able to pull out this whole assembly out the back. It's sort of like pulling the guts out of it, sort of, and everything's contained in this bolt thing. But like I said, I'll do another video about that. I don't want this one to get too long. So let's see, anything on this side? Not really. Controls aren't ambidextrous. You have just the safety over there. So moving on to shooting impressions, it shoots really well, I think. That's a lot of that has to do with the pointability and the way the grip feels in your hand. The trigger is pretty good, and I know you're not supposed to dry fire 22s, but I'll just do it a couple times with this one just to show you. Yeah, the trigger feels good. There's a little bit of creep. You can see the hammer's cocked too, so it's ready to go. Let me make sure this is in focus. It's ready to go. So the trigger doesn't have a whole lot of creep, just a little bit, and then once you get there, pull it and it goes. It's almost like you can stage the trigger because the creep up until the point where it's about to fire is so noticeable, it just sort of stops right there. And I don't think it's really very light, but it is super crisp at that point. So you know, I might guess that it might be 7 pounds, 6 pounds, something like that. But it feels pretty good. And I'll do it one more time. It's kind of surprising, actually, as rare as these guns are. I mean, they're super rare. There were, like I said, 13,000 something like that made, but there's a pretty decent parts supply market out there. So if something breaks, it's not too much of a concern. You are able to find some of those parts out there. But yeah, anyway, back onto the topic of shooting. Shoots really well. The trigger feels pretty good. The pointability, and it helps with the accuracy. It's pretty accurate. It's not going to be, you know, Smith & Wesson Model 41 levels of accuracy, but it's definitely accurate enough to be fun. And you know, with these 22 pistols, that's the name of the game, sort of, is being accurate with them. So they're definitely a lot of fun to shoot, and I really recommend them in that respect. So yeah, people like, and I was saying earlier, people say that they're pretty finicky, and this is my second one, and I've always run CCI mini mags through it, and just the Federal bulk pack ammo from Walmart, and it feeds reliably for me. So mine haven't been too finicky. I haven't really tried a whole lots of different ammunitions with them, so maybe I just got lucky, and the two that I tend to use work well in them. But like I said, mine haven't been finicky. So yeah, I mean, taking it to the range is a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite range guns. It shoots really well, and I always enjoy shooting it. So next topic, I usually talk a little bit about criticisms, and honestly, with this gun, I just don't have that many. It feels so good in the hand. It's light. It really feels good to shoot. It's accurate, you know. If I had to criticize it, people say that it's finicky, and maybe theirs are, so that's something. You have to be picky with the ammo. This one, the magazine is a little bit tricky to get out. It's got that heel magazine release, and for some reason this one seems to stick sometimes or something. It just requires a little bit of finagling to get out. That might be another criticism. But otherwise, it's really nice. I like it a lot. It feels good in the hand. It shoots well. So don't have a lot of negative things to say about it, really. So in conclusion, the Whitney Wolverine, it's a really great gun, I think. It's a lot of fun to shoot. It's accurate. It's beautiful to look at, especially in the nickel finish like this. It's just a lot of fun, and they're not ridiculously rare. There were 13,000 plus produced, you know, and so they are out there. And if you want to find one, just hop on Gunbroker. Usually there's 1 or 2, 3 or 4, you know, something like that a month out there, and you can find them. I don't know, when I bought my first one, it was $400, $450, something like that, and now I see them going for $550, $600, so they're not super expensive either. I do definitely recommend against getting the new production Olympic Arms ones. A, they're just ugly looking, and B, I've heard nothing but bad reports about reliability. Everyone says they jam a lot, there's a lot of quality control problems, so just don't settle for, they're cheap, yeah, they're like $250 new or something, they're cheap, but don't settle for the Olympic Arms ones. Just hold out for an original. You won't regret it. They shoot really well. They can be found for reasonably cheap. So there's no reason not to get just one of the original ones. Nickel ones, I don't know if you should hold out for that necessarily. That's why I went with. I originally was just going to buy a black one and nickelize it myself, but then this one popped up. The nickel ones are pretty hard to find. They're mostly in collectors' hands who don't really want to give them up, but. So yeah, Whitney Wolverine, a lot of fun. Subscribe to my channel. I am going to put up a bunch of shooting videos on my guns in a few weeks. I'm going to have some access to some private land, so stay tuned for that. I'll do a field strip video, maybe a couple other videos comparing 22s or something like that. I don't know, something fun. But yeah, so just stay tuned for more videos on the Whitney Wolverine.